Hello and welcome to the agenda. I am Ajay Kaul. In this program today, we will be discussing about ways to deal with the challenge posed by China at the line of actual control. Military and diplomacy. India is ready to use both options to deal with China, whose aggression on the Ladakh border has triggered military tensions between the two countries. Army Chief General Naravane, during a visit to Ladakh, said today that the forces are alert and morale of troops is very high to face any challenge. Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat has also made it clear that India is capable of dealing with the challenge posed by China in all possible ways. Meanwhile, External Affairs Minister S Jaishankar has said the matter can be resolved through diplomacy. So, can China challenge be tackled better through military or through diplomacy or both? We will discuss this in the agenda today with two special guests, former diplomat Ambassador Dr. Deepak Vora and retired Brigadier Vinod Datta. But before we start the conversation, let us have a look at this small report.
Amidst rising tensions at the line of actual control, Army Chief General Naravane today said the Indian forces are alert and the morale of troops is very high to face any challenge that China may pose. He spoke after undertaking a two-day visit to Ladakh, including forward areas, to review preparedness and to take stock of the situation that emerged after Chinese Army's latest attempt to change the status quo in Pangong Lake area last Sunday. General Naravane said the situation along the line of actual control is slightly tense, but all precautions for safety and security have been taken to ensure that our India's integrity remains safeguarded. He said India has been engaging with China both at military and diplomatic levels, and it will continue. He said issues will be resolved through talks, but India will ensure that the status quo on the LAC is not changed. His comments came a day after the Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat said India is capable of dealing with the aggressive actions of China at the LAC. General Rawat said India is ready for even a two-front war in case Pakistan also tries to exploit the situation and launch an aggression. He said India has taken adequate precautions to ensure that any misadventure by Pakistan is thwarted and they are not able to succeed in the mission. Pakistan may suffer heavy losses should they attempt any misadventure, General Rawat warned. Meanwhile, External Affairs Minister S Jaishankar said he was totally convinced that a solution has to be found in the domain of diplomacy. He said he was not underplaying the seriousness of the current situation and added that both countries need to arrive at an accommodation. Jaishankar, who is slated to come face to face with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi during the SCO Council of Ministers meeting in Russia on September 10, said the two can have a reasonable chat as they have known each other for a long time. Earlier, External Affairs Ministry spokesman Anurag Srivastava said China should sincerely engage in talks for complete disengagement and de-escalation at the India-China border. Bureau Report.
Now, let's welcome our special guests, Brigadier Datta and Ambassador Vora. Now, my first question is to Ambassador Vora. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar says diplomacy is the key to resolve the challenge posed by China. How do you see that statement?
Thank you, Mr. Kaul, for this opportunity to interact with you. Always a pleasure to learn from you. You know, it's always, for me, a learning experience to talk to you, to chat with you. Now, in diplomacy, we are trained to believe one thing, that when there is an issue between two countries, we first try to negotiate. If that doesn't work, then we take other action, whether it's economic or military or cultural. But ultimately, every dispute is resolved around the negotiating table. As we sometimes say laughingly, a war is too serious a business to be left to the generals. Now, Ambassador Jaishankar is a seasoned diplomat and a brilliant foreign minister. He knows what he's talking about. You know, the First and Second World Wars also ended around the negotiating table. So the important thing is that the Indian army in Galwan has given a bloody nose to the Chinese, have showed them our mettle, our strength, what we are capable of. At the same time, we are hitting them economically. Perhaps the impact on China in economic terms will not be very high in the next few weeks or months, but the impact in psychological terms is very profound. Thirdly, we are hitting them culturally. All these Confucius institutes, etc., this nonsense that they had set up, that is going to be scrutinized very carefully. And then 5G, etc., we are relooking the issue. So, sir, Foreign Minister Jaishankar is absolutely correct that we will deal with them as we have to, but ultimately the Chinese will sit around the table at their request. I repeat, at their request, to find a solution.
I'll come with a supplementary to you, but first let me ask the same
Yes,
question to Brigadier Datta.
Well, Ajay ji, I think Deepak Vora ji has really, he hit on the bullseye, and it is only the negotiation which can bring an end to this stalemate which is going on. Secondly, the diplomatic channels are always open, and one thing which I find a very good thing in diplomats is that they have a lot of patience and perseverance, and with that, because all these things, they take time. These boundary disputes, since they have been lingering on for years, I mean, right from 1865 or 1899, ever since the Johnson and the MacDonald lines were drawn. So they are going to take time. The only thing, what I want to highlight is that, yes, we should also, have one of the edges, that is the defense punch. Also, that should be shown to the enemy, because, most of the time what happens is in the international relations, they not only read and understand the character of a nation, they also understand that how a nation behaves. Unfortunately, over the years, it has been seen that India, has fallen to the Ashok, culture, or King Ashok's culture of peace and ahimsa, and which unfortunately has to be translated into a muscular nationalism, because a day has, a time has come where we must show China and Pakistan that yes, we mean business and we are not going to take this nonsense any further. And you see, you must have seen this last episode of what happened in this Spangor, Pegango South. Once China has been served the same recipe, now China is finding it very, very, very difficult to digest, very hot to take, and very spicy. Now it has, shot 4-5 statements saying that we want to discuss things. We want to discuss the matters across the table. So that military punch is also required. And I would like to say that we must have, that iron fist with a velvet hand. And that velvet hand should be diplomacy, and the iron fist should be the, defense punch, which we have shown last week. And China very well recognizes it, and the point has been well driven home.
Okay, Ambassador Vora, as you heard Brigadier Datta saying that we had to show the punch, military punch. So military punch, we have maybe perhaps shown in Pangong or maybe Chushul. But the issue is that Chinese are refusing to pull back troops from where they have come. So,
Mr. Kaul,
yeah.
I anticipate your question, and what Brigadier Datta has said is absolutely brilliant. I mean, he's spot on. Let me put it to you somewhat differently. Let me put it to you, and you might agree or disagree. I'm not going to go back too far into China's behavior. Let me look at it very recently. First, of course, you know that towards the end of last year or beginning of this year, they unleashed that massive virus, to the extent today that even their son-in-law, the Director General of the World Health Organization, he is conspicuous conspicuously silent. I mean, it's a deafening silence. He doesn't say anything. He has stopped singing praises of Xi Jinping, and he's now looking out for his own job. Now, BuzzFeed recently published a report that a Chinese company sold millions of cheap smartphones in Africa with pre-installed malware that steals data and that enters subscriptions that you don't want. So what is happening today, and I have not seen this in my lifetime, that the whole world, how the Chinese have managed to do that, it beats me. We talk of the Chinese being masters of strategy. May I just say this is arrant nonsense. What kind of strategy is it that you get the whole world against you? The Chinese believe in salam.
We believe in bacon smashing.
I mean, the whole world. Now,
their foreign minister goes on a tour of 5 nations.
In Norway, he says, please don't give the Nobel Peace Prize to the Hong Kong protesters. And I hope that Norway gives it to those guys. Then he goes off to Germany and he says the president of the Czech Senate went to Taiwan and this is the red line and we will teach the Czech Republic a lesson. Then the German foreign minister responds that, Your Excellency, this is not the place to make threats. This is not how we deal with members of the European Union. Kindly behave yourself. I mean, words to that effect.
Okay, I think we have lost connection with Ambassador Bora. I may turn to Brigadier Datta. Brigadier Datta, as I mentioned that you said that about we had to show military punch. And as the diplomacy goes on, talks go on, China continues to stay where they have, and in fact they have concretized the infrastructure there, they are building concrete structures there. So they have intent to stay on, isn't it? So how do you do that without a military action? I mean, remove them, evict them.
Yeah, you see, these intrusions, Ajay-ji, they are a well thought out, well deliberated, policy on part of the CPC. It is not that they are a knee-jerk reaction or any border action or a patrol which has got waylaid, or it is at the whims and fancies of a local, battalion commander or a brigade commander or a divisional commander. They have been well thought out, and there is a definite, a long-term strategy which China is looking at. They really want to take the entire Ladakh, and their aim is to move, inch by inch, and then, they would like to enter 5 kilometers, and then they will just wait. And they will intrude at 4 and 5 places. And then they will say, okay, we will negotiate when there is a pressure on, and they would like to come back by, say, about 1 kilometer, but still they have gained, 4 kilometers. What I want to say is that, this policy, I am reminded of East India Company.
Yeah.
You see, in 1600, they had come in the similar manner. They came as traders. They had their own interest, which they, threw it to the environment. They drew you to the, freebies. Then they had their own agenda, unilateral agenda. And then they brought you to the negotiating table with military might, and they ruled you. So the similar exercise is being done by China. So they have to be told, and we have to have a aggressive defense which we have to follow. And you have seen one action, similar actions like the strategic locations. You see, why China is so perturbed on this is because, the very fact that people are sitting on blacktop, on helmet feature, or on the Spangur Ridge. You see, Spangur Ridge is about 3 kilometers, wide. So, this is one of the areas or the ingress route or the approaches where the Chinese could have reached Ladakh. They could have, threatened the Chushul Bowl, and then they could have gone. Now, the very fact that we are sitting on the, heights, we are overlooking Moldo, where they have a battalion as well as a brigade headquarters. So the very fact that you can bring down aimed fire, you can bring down any kind of, guided fire by artillery or by aircraft. So the China is worried. So now we have to employ the military options And there is no harm in throwing enemy from our own land. We are by no stretch of imagination doing any aggression on a foreign country. We are just claiming our land back, which by virtue of grab actions, China has taken. So there is no harm in going for some kind of limited offensive or improving our defense posture.
So let me ask this question now to Ambassador Vora. So you had to show, as Brigadier Datta was saying, you had to show military muscle and maybe prove it so that you can have a bargaining power in negotiations. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely right. We had a war in 1962. It ended with certain discussions. 65, we went to Tashkent. 71 was the Simla Agreement. 1999, the Pakistani fellow rushed off to Washington to plead with them to save his skin. They didn't manage to do it. Sir, the important thing is that we have proved to them that their strategy is no strategy. What is this that I go in 5 kilometers and I come back 1 kilometer or 2 or 3? Are we all kids in kindergarten that we don't see through this? The Chinese have no tactics. The Chinese have no strategy. They are bullies, and the world has called them out for what they are. 193 members of the United Nations leave out China. The other 192 are solidly against China. Sir, I have never seen this in my life, that one country manages to alienate the whole world. What kind of strategy is this? Their foreign minister talks nonsense in Europe. Now they are blaming the United States. हमारी गलती नहीं है, यूएस की गलती है. भारत और चीन के बीच संबंध खराब हो रहे हैं, यूएस की गलती है. They have a rude shock coming, sir. I just hope that we smash
them, that the salami will stick in your gullet, that you are trying
to slide, and we are capable of doing this, sir. This is the India of 2020. This is not the India of 1962, sir.
Mr. Vora, since you are a diplomat, you have been a diplomat, I may refer you to a number of agreements and understanding that India and China have had since 93. So after this aggression, I think that all those agreements and understandings have been trashed. So it also raises questions on the credibility and reliability of China vis-a-vis these agreements. So suppose we have another understanding, so how do we trust them?
We don't trust them at all. Ronald Reagan had said about the United States, trust but about the USSR. He said trust but verify. As far as we are concerned about the Chinese is don't trust at all. Period. Simply verify, because these guys lie. They don't know what the truth is.
So what is then what is the purpose?
Yeah,
please. Then what is the purpose of talking?
I entirely agree with you, sir. Once we verify on the ground, when they are in a weak position as they were against Vietnam in 1979, the last time that they fought a war and got badly beaten, they pulled back and came to all kinds of agreements, which they do not feel strong enough to abrogate. The agreement for the Chinese is not worth the paper it is written on. Therefore, we will talk to them from a position of strength, military strength, and when they are hurting economically, as they are today, across the world they are hurting, sir. I believe that our trade with China, which is $80-90 billion, by the end of next year will be down to half. I would be very happy to see it go down to zero. Therefore, when we sit across the table, we just make one thing clear. No agreements, no nothing, till you pull back.
1962, sir. Today we are in a
position to ensure that the world is on our side. How can one country take on 192 members, other members of the United Nations? They themselves.
Nobody has opened his mouth to China to say to China,
we'll support you. Even their lapdog, that Niazi fellow on our western border, won't
support. What are we looking at? Either Mr. Xi Jinping is a megalomaniac,
or he suffers from dementia, sir. It's one of the two.
Okay, Brigadier Datta, I may ask you the same question. We have had so many understandings about, patrolling and no use of weaponry at the border and peace and tranquility and other things. But now they mean nothing. So what is the road ahead? What are the options?
You see, this is very disheartening, and what Vora Sahib had, rightly brought out is that you see these contracts, these confidence building measures or whatever resolutions we have signed, they have their sanctity once they are respected or revered.
Correct.
If you have no sanctity for them, if you have no respect for them, there is no sanctity. They are just mere papers which have been signed. You see, the working ethos in the army is it is very difficult for a commander to make his troops agree and to make them understand that what the government is doing. You see, he's a person who's sitting in the trenches, who's sitting in the bunker or field fortifications, raring to go. And this is what he has been trained all his life, that, सामने पहाड़ी के उस पे दुश्मन, बस, just, go hell on leather on them. The soldier does not understand these nuances. So, it is the duty of the government to have early settlement of these, contracts, or like, we have had almost 22 talks, whether it is WMCC, whether it is China Group, whether these are, formation level talks at the border, but nothing has come out. So it leaves a soldier frustrating. I mean, I'm not talking of Jawans, even the junior leaders, and the young blood is always raring to go. So it is, it is incumbent on the part of the government to have an early resolution, or else we are, very badly, damaging the morale of the army and the fighting spirit of the soldier.
What kind of solution are you expecting the government to do? I mean, have?
I feel that the government, you see, diplomatic levels, yes, they have their own sanctity and this thing, but I feel that there should be a premier level talk, when the entire, world is almost close to a, third world war. There is no harm in having a dialogue across the table and put an end to, because you see, the Chinese government is at the, is at the lowest ebb. The entire national, the international platform is against the Chinese government. Their economy has gone down. You see, their exports, they have reduced by almost 80%. They are importing, so many, they don't have any, much to eat. So this is the time when we can strike hard, and you see, if they agree on a political or a diplomatic resolution, fine. Otherwise, we can also go in for a limited offensive. And since the world is with you, it is going to pay you rich dividends. I'll take you back in the history. You see, what had happened to Prithviraj Chauhan? You see, we have that, theory of लोगों को माफ करना, लोगों को ये बताना कि हम तो शांति प्रिय हैं. He defeated Muhammad Ghori. The moment Muhammad Ghori got a chance, he took Prithviraj Chauhan, took him as a prisoner, blinded him. And it was his friend Chand Bardai who had told him, आपको वो कपलेट याद होगा, 4 बांस 24 गज ता ऊपर सुल्तान. और उसके बाद चंद बरदाई ने कहा था, मत चूके चौहान, मत चूके चौहान. So this is the time India should strike back, and it should improve its defense posture. It will stand India in a good stead. It will raise the morale of the army, and I am sure a very good lesson will also be given to the Chinese government.
So as you say that India should strike, I saw Ambassador Vora nodding in negative on the premier level talks, because I may also kind of agree, because there are nuances involved. At the premier level talks, who will seek the talks, India or China? I don't think either will seek premier level talks. Ambassador Vora, what do you say on that?
You are absolutely right, sir. There is a time for every negotiation. Kicking it upstairs to the level of the heads of government, of course, in the case of China, it's the president. For us, the chief executive is the prime minister. It's not going to help. We would rather first see if we can resolve it at the diplomatic level, which means at the foreign service level, then at the foreign minister. And then if nothing else comes, if it needs to be stamped as they say, signed, sealed and approved, delivered, then we can go up to a higher level. But the issue, as Brigadier Datta has very rightly pointed out, we cannot trust them. Let me just put it differently, we cannot trust China. we cannot trust the Communist Party of China. The people of China, sir, this generation has not known freedom. They have not known anything other than communism. And now the People's Liberation Army, mark you, sir, it's the People's Liberation Army. My appeal to them is liberate your people from the Communist Party of China. You have nothing else left to liberate. China talks of a century of humiliation. There will now be a millennia of isolation for China. The world has seen who they are. Vietnam is thrilled. Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, South Korea, Japan. They are all telling us, well done, boys. You've given them a bloody nose. And now they are empowered to take on China. Sir, the moment somebody fights back against a bully, whether on the negotiating table or on the battlefield, that's the time the bully stands exposed, as China is today, sir.
So as you also mentioned that you had to give a bloody nose, after that there will be talks. My program time is coming to an end. Thank you both of you for participating in this debate.
Thank you, Mr. Kaul. Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity.
This is all in the agenda today. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with another important topic tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.